What's a good job for introverts who only have a high school diploma? I used to work at a cactus nursery, and it was an introverted dream. Hell, any plant nursery work is awesome and anyone can do it. You just pop in headphones and hang out with plants all day. It's super easy, and you get in awesome shape because you're on your feet all day lifting and moving plants. What's the position called? You're just general staff, so it's just called nursery worker. If you're also a night owl, I'd say look at nearly any third shift job. Most people don't choose it and most people are asleep then, so talking and interaction is quite limited. I worked the third shift at a factory when I was 19, and a few months into it, a QA position opened up for a third shift associate. I said, why the hell not, and applied. Got the job. I got all the perks of having a desk job without any of the issue of dealing with the rest of the office staff working 9 to 5. Every now and then I would walk around to check the factory floor, finish products, etc. whenever I got bored, but most of my time was spent signing off on different forms, like cog quality to make sure this special thing is being done, quarantining any bad product that is found and handling paperwork for it, and occasionally helping out the production staff. I didn't have to talk to anyone unless I was in the mood to, and I only communicated with my boss and colleagues via occasional emails. Pretty easygoing job, but it had days where everything in the factory or the warehouse would go to all at once. Those were rare. It was a pretty nice job. If it weren't for the poor management of the company in general, I might have kept doing it. I left making $13.07 an hour after 2 years of working there, so it paid pretty decently considering I only had my diploma. I have a friend who is a deep introvert that works in classifications, in that she has to watch a bunch of television and tick off lists to figure out what classification they should have, G, PG, etc. She gets to watch most popular shows at least 2 weeks in advance and does it in the remotest part of the building by herself. She also has to sit through a lot of European art movies and gore flicks, which meshes well with her interest in serial killers. My college roommate did a similar job for MTV, or rather a company that was contracted by MTV and based out of Monrovia, CA. He found it by reading the end titles in the credits of TV shows and then went to the company websites and applied. A factory with equipment loud enough to make earplugs mandatory. It's hard as hell to hear anyone talking over the machines, and that forces extroverts to keep conversations to the bare minimum. This is the only job I've had where being an introvert felt like an advantage. Factory work is what made me realize I'm not as introverted as I thought. Didn't miss it till it was gone. Just about any job working with animals. I'm a kennel attendant for the Humane Society in my area. Listen to music for 9 hours, clean kennels and cages, feed and water the cats and dogs. No human interaction. Tree planter. 8 to 10 hours alone in the middle of the bush. Incredible pay if you're a hard worker, and it keeps you in amazing shape. Insurance claims processing. I know a lot of introverted people who do this for a living, through having worked it myself for 5 years. Depending on the company and your location, there is a chance that you will eventually be allowed to just work from home, as long as you meet performance expectations and the quality of the internet that can be connected to your place of residence. How much does it pay? 'Cause I'm all about that kind of thing. Honestly, I don't know what they pay now. When I started there as a full-time processor, I had been a temp employee in another department, so they started me at $12.50 per hour based on my prior experience. But I think the going rate was closer to $11 an hour. It also depends on where you live. The company I work for pays a fair wage based on where you live. For instance, we had someone who had moved from a large metropolitan area to our city of 60,000. They told me that they actually took a $3+ an hour pay cut, as cost of living is low in these parts. A local funeral home director hires just such people to serve as pallbearers and to assist at the parlor in a variety of ways. He pays them well. Most of their work time is in silence, except for running the vacuum in the coffin viewing areas. Hey, I'm sitting here working from home. I'm a virtual assistant. I make shipping arrangements, pay bills, get quotes for different things, make up invoices, all the same thing everyone else with an office job does, but I get to stay home and watch YouTube and not wear a bra while I do it. How do you get started with something like that? I got into it by parlaying my regular office experience into some part-time personal assistant work for home-based entrepreneurs and making myself indispensable and reliable. I love working with entrepreneurs because they largely don't give a time how you work, so long as you get the work done. Otherwise, I know there are agencies that can help you get your foot in the door. I would check Craigslist or similar sites. They usually have ads there where you can sign up. I mow lawns. Really, the only time I talk to my customers is when I first meet them. After that, it's mostly texts. I average about $25 an hour after expenses, and since I live in the South, I work 9.5 or 10 months out of the year. I enjoy the downtime. It lets me reset. Garbage collection. Good pay, little education needed, and the smell keeps people away. Once interviewed with a garbage collection company in a town about 45 miles outside of the nearest major city. Pay was still about $15 an hour starting off, and if I recall correctly, if you stuck with it long enough, that pay would double. Freelance something. Upwork, Fiverr, and even LinkedIn are all great places to use to look for clients who will pay you to do something as long as you have some kind of creative or technical skill. Source: I didn't get to finish college, and I make good money working as a freelance content writer while working at home. How did you build up a client network at the start? Accepted small pay that let me learn while working on someone else's money, and preferably let me walk away with a recommendation or something to add to my portfolio. Did this for about a year, and the contracts have kept on coming since. In the US, medical coder. Lots of opportunities, decent if not incredible pay. You can get certified within a year of training. After a couple of years' experience, a decent coder can often work from home. Some interaction is required, but twice the pay of many jobs listed here. What is the training like? Is it common for companies to pay for the certification and have you in an assistant role or something? Or do you have to get it yourself and then apply to jobs? I've seen both. My spouse took an excellent 4-class prep course, which prepared her for the certification. It was about $4,000 in our area, but there were low-income job training scholarships. The certificate is tough to pass, but she made it on her first try. She was planning a career change, so we timed it. I know online e-training is also an option, and there is post-certificate specialization. I know others that have been hired and then pushed for the cert as part of their training. I am sure employers prefer a cert, so probably depends on what your local market has. Factory work is easy to get into, and usually, once in the door, mobility is possible. It's not great, but you can leave it at the door on the way out each day. That's a more overlooked feature than I would like. I often joke that the main reason I do not want to own a small business again is I am too lazy now. I have a job now where at 4 p.m. I close my laptop and forget about it until the next day. My work-life balance and free time are so enjoyable. Ironically, a decade in factories led me to do this position 20 years later. Legit work-from-home gigs do exist. Try Upwork sometime. I may have gotten lucky, but I landed my current 40-hour-a-week job through Upwork. Pro tip with that one? See if you can land a few ongoing contracts. You'll wind up paying less of a percentage of your earnings to Upwork if you can pick up a few long-time gigs. I think a lot of people here are confusing introvert with antisocial or social anxiety. If the thought of talking to a person brings you great discomfort and you dread a job where you may potentially have to speak with someone, then I have news for you, friend. You're not an introvert. You probably just have social anxiety. I'm an introvert myself, but I don't bust into a cold sweat and stumble over my words if I see a person, nor do I go out of my way to avoid as much human contact as possible. Edited to be more precise. Being an introvert is needing time after some socializing to relax, recharge, and continue on with the day. Not being scared you might talk to someone in an 8-hour period. Probably going to get downvoted for this, but it really does need to be said. I see way too many people in this thread genuinely terrified they might actually have to have human contact in their shift at a job, and it's really scary to think about. There's nothing wrong with social anxiety or being antisocial, but putting the blanket of introvert on it is misleading and wrong. This is an important distinction. I'm extremely introverted, but I still generally enjoy interacting with people, and the work I do is very interaction heavy. I just start to get worn down if I'm interacting with people all the time, and I need some solo time to recharge. There are times at work where I wish I didn't have to interact with people for a while, for sure. But that's usually because my personal life has also been busy, and I haven't had those moments to slow things down and recharge, not because I fear or dislike talking to people. If you're an introvert who wants their work environment to be relatively quiet to leave you feeling charged up for other social situations, that's one thing. But if you're trying to avoid human interaction as much as humanly possible, that's another thing entirely. Depends on what you like to do. If you want a white-collar desk job, I'd find anything that has education benefits and get a bachelor's degree for free that way. Computer science, study programming. Offers some great opportunities to have minimal contact with people if you can communicate well via email. Alternatively, you could get into something like construction. Get certified to operate large machines and be surrounded by noise all day. No need to have awkward conversations over a diesel engine. Night shift security guards are another option if you can find the openings. They tend to pay a bit more, minimal interaction with people, and can be sort of cushy if it's not a high-stakes one. I know one guy who completed a novel doing this. I can guarantee you, people still try to have small talk when you're operating heavy machinery. Depending on what you choose to do, it can be kind of social. Entry-level unskilled labor usually has a big social aspect since you'll probably be working in a crew. But if you go learn a trade, you should be alright. Might only have a conversation maybe once or twice in a day if you choose to. Even better would be working in construction as a driver for like a granite dump truck or a semi, moving equipment between jobs. You could easily be alone on the road for 90% of your day. Getting a CDL is known to be pretty difficult. You need dedication, experience, and just plain skill. You'll also be tested on the truck you plan to drive, at least in my state, so you'll need to know the name and function of most of your truck.